Morning grad. Here we go. There's the music. Yeah, everyone is leaving FRC. They were down 20%. Uh, Apologies to all the now bag holders who are playing that, but very interested to hear if your convictions have shaken, or if you're still a believer. Interesting part is a lot of the other regional banks, MTB, have not moved all too much. So kind of interesting to see that this was, at least markets are seeing this as contained to FRC. Question is this truly contained to FRC? I know they had it the worst, but is this an opportunity to maybe be a little bearish on some other stocks? We saw some huge gain and loss porn yesterday on the sub. See some already in the chat. Um, Seeing people delete their posts, always a good time. Uh, but yeah, let's get some people up here. Let's get talking about banking stocks and everything else. Today is the week for earnings plays, so don't be shy. Morning, grad. You weren't in FRC, right?
No, it was not.
Hey, no need to apologize. Congrats. McDonald's beat. Jefferson is happy. All right, Scald, let's hear it. What are your thoughts? Give us the lowdown on FRC. Welcome, welcome, Trash.
Is the lowdown just that it shit the bed?
It's pretty much it. And more like I think all retail kind of like overestimated exactly how, or underestimated how many people would leave, how many of its deposits flew out and just aren't coming back. All right, Skull, is your mic working now? Give it another shot.
I take it from the heading that FRC didn't do so well.
It's only down 20%. I mean, what is that in a world of Bed Bath and Beyonds? It's but a day.
Yeah, Bed Bath & Beyond is down 35% yesterday, which is weird that I'm gonna say that has been pretty average for the past week or two, or past week, I say, in terms of how fast they've moved.
For your
I mean, the
portfolio,
fact that the
no, no,
fact
go
that
ahead,
they're only
dude.
down 35% after filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, they only filed protections for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's different. Plus, they're not taking coupons starting next month, which means if you want to buy things at Bed Bath & Beyond, you don't get coupon discounts. That's bullish, folks. Full
That's
price.
a very bullish symbol, right? I'm with you, man.
Oh my god.
So
Also, I can't wait to get pots and pans for like 70% off when they finally acknowledge that they're shutting down their stores. So that's cool.
Yeah, just stepping back, it's kind of funny that you're like, oh, they have to pay full price. That's, sarcastically bullish. You're actually bearish. And then Tesla cuts its price, and they're like, and people are like, oh, yeah, that's sarcastically bullish, but actually bearish. So, you can't win.
Well,
Can't win with your pricing.
opinion, it's because of why the prices are changing, right? Not validating your coupons because we can't afford $5 off a $200 purchase is a bit different than our margins allow a $2,000 price drop because we'll make it up in bulk sales.
Wasn't there that story as well about how like they were like counting the gift cards or something in some of their retail locations? Or was that GameStop?
Wait a minute. So hold on, just to go back to the Tesla thing, isn't Tesla trying to get their people to voluntarily give up lifetime free charging?
Are they? And what's their incentive? Is there?
I don't know, but I think the incentive is they've realized they can't pay for that shit.
I can give some bullish Tesla news, even though I'm not particularly a Tesla bull. But starting next year, at least in the U.S., the $7,500 tax rebate becomes a point of sale rebate, but only eligible for vehicles that meet specific battery specifications, of which Chevy Bolt and the Tesla are one of the few ones confirmed to meet that. So starting next year, a Tesla costs $7,500 less, and the dealer just takes the rebate from you as part of the purchase price. So there's that going for him. Which is kind of a big deal. I think people, now they might adjust their prices up $7,000 and call it a wash, but I mean, I think people will be inclined to get a car for $7,000 off its price of purchase.
Also, I just wanted to say the Tesla incentive was $5,000 to give up your lifetime free charging.
Oh, hold on, but I'm reading this, and so the charging stays with the car, and this only happens like you only get the additional 6 years if you buy a new car. And so, in a way, this is like one incentive to stop people from like hanging on to an old car just because they have free charging and they'll lose that if they move on. But also, uh, yeah, so it seems like another way to get people to spur them to buy another car. That's how I'm kind of reading this. I mean, six
Don't a
years.
lot of, I
Sorry,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, don't a lot of those Tesla incentives transfer with the vehicle? I feel like I remember talking to a Tesla dealership and they were like, "Oh, if you get these like packages, then when you sell the vehicle, it stays with the vehicle. If you like sell it to someone and you can tell them it always has whatever the Tesla things were they were talking about. It wasn't like features. It was like access to their self-driving or something like that. They're like, "Oh yeah, that stays with the vehicle if you sell it."
Yep, yep. Which, as it should. So, are we, does this impact our thesis at all, or is this kind of another sign that Tesla is really struggling to sell more models, more cars, and they're looking for every trick in the book they can to like pump up those demand numbers because they're lagging, right? They're cutting prices, they're offering free supercharging.
I honestly, I think Tesla has really good numbers in terms of vehicle sales, and I don't really think that's the problem they have. I think they're finally facing headwinds and getting more orders in order to justify their price. And again, I think that's like the dangerous game of like buying Tesla. It's that it's not really that the company is unsound. It's just it's the price is not sound. So it's like you gotta like overperform in order to justify your current price.
That's right.
The biggest problem Tesla faces is for the longest time it was get a Tesla or get either some unknown car company that was making an electric vehicle or a Nissan Leaf, which was like bare bones, it can go 100 miles if you really push the back while you're driving, garbage vehicle, right? But now a lot of the legacies actually make real EVs that can go over 200 miles on a charge and charge in like 20 to 30 minutes on a level 2 charger. That's stuff that used to be a Tesla thing. That's their biggest problem. The other automakers finally started caring about EVs and are actually making semi-competent ones.
I mean, Tesla had the first mover's advantage, one that over the course of, years, they slowly squandered, right? I mean, they definitely had it. And don't get me wrong, Tesla has established a pretty large market share. Even getting 1 or 2% of market share of the automotive market makes you a multi-billion dollar company. So we got to keep that in mind. But that being said, I agree with you that that first mover advantage is starting to look a little long in the tooth. As for FRC, as I said yesterday during the chat, I think it was yesterday morning. I was on here briefly, and I said, "Hey, Is anyone de-risking out of their options because it's already popped 10% before earnings? I just asked the question to the room. And now we see, what happens, right? If people didn't de-risk at all and rode it through earnings, you already had a 10.5% pop. I salute you for your greed if you stayed in, thinking that it was going to go to the moon. But snap back to reality, right? It's a little rough. It's a rough market, and the articles that are coming out now, like the one that Swilly posted earlier, say that FRC is in for a beating, a serious beating. That being said, I think it delivered a fairly lukewarm earnings. And it had all the turmoil that happened in the banking sector was called out, but the amount of beatdown that it's getting, it just seems a little extreme, in my opinion.
Just glad that my position in FRC was paper trading.
So then what's next for banks?
Yeah. Some people were asking what is the reason that I'm not driving today? And the reason is the toddler had such a meltdown, they covered themselves in a glass of milk. And so I am now having to bathe the toddler before I take the toddler to school. Anyway. I will be in the car shortly, and you will once again hear the joyous noises of the roads of Ohio, and you will obviously lose me when I hit the cornfields.
Love it. Thanks as always, Scald.
So
Sure.
I've got to ask. So we know what week this is. It's Tech Week, Tech earnings. Are you guys feeling bullish or bearish about this shit?
For tech? I mean, we've already had all the layoffs. Like, what else can come out?
Figuring out if the layoffs worked.
Well, but that's a thing. Like, I don't think they really will kick in for a little bit longer because people still have severance, right?
Solid points. So how do you think this is gonna? So here's my thing. You've done a bunch of layoffs, right? And you've gone 4 months, and your shareholders are looking at it, and it's not creating any movement in your bottom line. No, you're going to have a group of people who are savvy to the fact that you've got severance packages that are still paying out, and that you're going to have to wait 2 quarters to actually see the effects of your layoffs. But what happens during this earnings if your numbers still look like shit? I mean, that's why I kind of have a bearish feel about this going into this, for the entire SPY, going into this week or coming out of it. I think it's going to dip because I'm not anticipating very good numbers from, some of the big tech movers, the FANG group.
So we have what? Google first? Microsoft? Microsoft usually somehow saves the market, and then Apple saves. Amazon.
I agree.
Amazon,
I
they
think-
have theirs in a few days. I'm worried about them. They do have their remaining layoffs to probably announce the day before their earnings. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's Meta on Wednesday. That's going to be one of the potentially bad ones. But again, like to this evening, Microsoft and Google, Those are probably your two. If they do poorly, I don't really have much faith for the rest of them. Uh, Apple, I think, if I think if Microsoft and Google are doing poorly, Apple's best is going to be breaking even. I don't think Amazon is going to do well. Um, if if we're not seeing companies like Meta doing well going in, I'm pretty sure Amazon is going to follow suit and just do poorly. So I'm picking up some SPY puts at 409. Just a little YOLO. I'm gonna have them probably put a expiration for Friday, and I'm gonna do some at the money puts, just naked puts.
Interesting. It's not that far. I mean, how much is tech out of S&P 500 anyways? Wait, why not like a tech
It's
ETF?
really so honestly, it's because the entire SPY tends to move sympathetically with with tech. But I might see if there's a better tech ETF if you can think of one. I would love to share it in the chat.
901 is telling me that's a hardy question. Well, I mean, honestly, in fairness, like the top components of SP of SPY are like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. Like,
what's your notion for why you're looking for a tech ETF? Are you looking for it to make plays on it, or are you looking for it to actually hedge your trim with? Because there are some leveraged ones that are useful for certain aspects of it.
So right now, I'm looking for something that is gonna a big mover. So I wouldn't mind a leveraged ETF. I want something that's gonna, if it sinks, I want it to sink hard, and I want it to have move. I want it to have a room to actually go down. So one of the good things about SPY is that when you're trading at 400, you know, it can drop $20 in a, it can drop $20 in a week. Unlike some of the smaller, lower valued ETFs where a 5% change is only going to move it a couple bucks. So I want something that has a good, that can move several dollars per percentage point. So something trading over $100.
So that'll be your primary play then, is utilizing those the way you use SPY.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let me think for a minute. That's not how I use them. So let me think for a minute. I might come to Skull, really quickly. Oh, did you leave already? Son of a hooker. Anybody who's talking banks, by the way, guys, I've been talking about this a little bit. It's OTC next week. I don't know if anybody knows anything about OTC. The Offshore Trade Convention is the biggest oil and gas convention, basically, where deals are made. All the execs, everybody's flying in. I got in town yesterday. Everybody will be there next Monday, and Friday during earnings calls for Chevron and Exxon. People are heading in. But I wanted to say, because of that, look at some of the banks that have been hit a little hard right now for your banking plays that actually deal in loans and depositories towards, say, Midland, Permian, and that area in Texas and in the Dakotas. Just something kind of interesting, as well as watch your gap downs on any ONG going in after or going into these earnings, because next week with what OTC is, I'll drop a link in, and anybody can attend if they want. It's actually relatively cheap if you can get there. But just a heads up for guys in banking, that's a kind of not bad move. I always recommend CRF, Cullen, or CFR, I believe it is. I forget. It's fucking Harrison's company. Cullen Frost Bank. They go by Frost Financial. And then they have a HHC Exploration Company. But that's an example of them. But look at people in that industry for your next banking place. I'll drop that link in, and I'll think about the tech.
I don't know if anyone's looked at Spotify, but it's doing interesting things. I don't want to divert the conversation though. You guys get to talk about Spotify? Jefferson says nope, so I'm not sure if that's for me. Okay. So, yeah, Spotify is up like 6.5% in pre-market. And that's despite the fact that they're showing uh fairly significantly worse than expected earnings and like miss on revenue as well. But this is on the back of the fact that they had subscriber growth and MAU growth. And they're like, I think their year over year growth is like 15% in terms of subscribers, which shows that they can make money even in, like challenging environment where a lot of people might be switching away from subscription payments or looking to trim down their costs. So I was kind of surprised by this. I still don't know. I don't think Spotify has ever posted a profit. So that's spoiler. Is that confirmed that Spotify is using AI to write pop songs and not giving money to artists? And like, if so, I mean, there's nothing preventing any other platform from doing so. The same thing, right? So yeah, but I generally have a hard time seeing Spotify's moat, especially to products like YouTube Premium. Uh, oh, sorry, Spotify has been profitable in the past, as recently as last year, but their losses have been just growing very quickly ever since quarter over quarter. By the way, yeah, if you're getting poor volume from voice chat, you should be able to just increase either increase the volume on individual speakers by right clicking them, or check out the YouTube and Twitch streams, which I can link if you guys need it. So let me know, and hopefully that helps out. But sorry about the audio issues. It's Discord. But yeah,
when I join on my phone, if you don't switch the audio output to speaker, it'll try and play it through the earphone, and obviously the earphone will be a lot like softer. So something else to check.
Gotcha. But yeah, so Spotify going up when the business seems to be going down. Any thoughts?
Did you say if
All the
subscribers
people who were. Go
Sorry?
ahead.
I was saying that did we talk about the subscribers? Did it go up or down?
Yeah, subscribers are up. I think quarter over quarter, year over year. And yet, oh, Maggie is here. And yet they're still losing more money, they're missing revenue, and their stock is still going up somehow. So please explain.
All the people who were invested in Bed Bath & Beyond are now investing in Spotify.
Makes a good explanation as much as any other. All right. Who else has plays for us today?
I'm very bullish.
Ooh, let's hear him.
I don't understand why everyone's so bearish. I mean, like, why is everyone so bearish? I need to hear that first.
On what?
First Republic.
Can I start with this actually? So First
Sure.
Republic, if you all don't mind, First Republic historically, I don't know how deep into the history you all know about it and its transactions with the federal government. It has been sold.
Bear Stearns.
Sorry, it goes well beyond.
Bear Stearns. Well, yeah,
So,
but that's what.
The thread to look at for this style of banking is Hugh McColl, MCCOLL, who basically from the 70s on up pioneered the gain of the regional banking, and he was also considered by most journalists the reason for the banking crisis that we last had. But he actually,
Which one was that? 2008.
he was the purchaser. Hugh McColl with his son-in-law, they were the purchaser after the U.S. government declined selling twice to Citibank and to someone else, and this is before the also the Merrill Lynch blow up of the 11
Wait,
billion.
slow down. Do you mean, I'm sorry, 2008 you're talking about?
I'm sorry.
2008?
That his moves and his influence on the way that banking worked for regional banks to gain traction and grow up were considered. I cannot remember the author's name right now. It's like ADDEDAI, I believe, is his name, Matt Adati or something. Who basically was the one whose piece in the Wall Street Journal kind of convinced the populace of this in banking. But he basically the McCall and McCall Partners, and then he sold actually out to not Bain but to the other consulting firm.
State Street.
But
Oh, yeah, the other one. There's only one other one.
That thrice now has been forced. It has been forced into salesmanship or into receivership actually by the federal government over things, and there have been 19 different major cases of bookkeeping illicitly over the history.
Yeah, 19. How many banks are there? About 19, right?
Oh, fuck if I know.
Probably about that.
My banking interests are very
But I'm saying that all banks have that. Like they all have.
Look up the JPM lawsuit in 2009. I believe is probably a good thread to unravel on that one. JP Morgan versus Merrill Lynch in the South District of New York court. That was, I can't even remember his clerk. I don't recall who the judge was, but look that up. Actually, it's not sealed.
Did they settle?
That's kind of interesting on that. Oh yes, another sale on it. But the problem is that the conglomerate that bought it out of Charlottesville was Hugh McCall's actually little child bank. And since everything acts the way he does, and that's why it became the type of bank it did. But just start at McCall and look up McCall Lockwood is the other thing, which is his son-in-law. And see what they're behind. It's kind of very interesting in banking, actually, as a matter of fact. They're a Tarian group and a couple of other things as well. I'm sorry.
Lehman Brothers with Credit Suisse and UBS. Do you think that they're tied in?
No. So I've actually I've done work with UBS. I do not think so at all on a large scale. The last DFO of UBS's domestic branch in the States definitely did not see eye to eye with him at all with Lance, with the son-in-law. So I highly doubt that. However, are they tied in with capital between and things of that nature? Certainly so. Yeah. I mean, McCall Partners definitely, as a fund, definitely was, and it's a really interesting thread to unravel. I actually was trying to convince Spoiler to do the DD.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's great.
I don't want to take off people's plays before market opens, but I'm sorry, I've got like 3 things going on right now, so that's why I'm speaking so fast and not paying attention.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You're doing great. I think
I want a message though, and I can definitely throw some things at you on that note later on.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, when we looked into it deeply with the CEO, he sold some shares. He exercised some special, he's an insider. Exercised some contracts.
And as you
said, money.
As you said, everyone does that. But this is what I've been trying to say for a bit. The reason to be bearish about banking in general is we're entering a 3-month period of international scrutiny over these matters of insider sales transactions within publicly traded financial institutions.
Sorry, time out. 3 months? Why 3 months?
That is the time that the committee has been given internationally to do this. On a domestic level, I believe it's only 90 days is the survey for it before people are coming up with what the ideals are for how to change this. Basically, if things go the way they are, the collapse of the indexing system is actually what hurts in the end with all this with the trading.
Hey, whoa, slow down. You're scaring me. Like the Dow Jones, the SPY. Which one are you talking about?
Let's let everyone deal with trades right now, and we can get into the theoretical much later on.
Well, you just said that the indexes are collapsing. That's scary.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of scariness. But if you want a reason to be a bear or snake, hey, there's tons right now.
You know what's a fun factoid is that like Rupert Murdoch owns the Dow Jones.
The Dow Jones company itself.
So yeah, and that's Jim Cramer too, which is like.
No, what's scary? You two thinking that anybody is here except you. Can we move on?
Take it later. Come on.
Sure.
Got
what are you looking at? What do you like about fucking First Republic? What do you hate about it? I'm confused why everyone's so bearish on it when they EPS and revenue, and they lost money, but they got a bailout, right? essentially.
We are moving away from the bank talks.
I just literally asked you a question about the bank.
Yeah, but we are moving away from the bank talks.
Oh, you want to move away from the bank talks? Okay.
No, not me. Check the chat.
Oh, I don't know where you're looking. Okay, yeah, well, let's talk about earnings because it's earnings craziness.
Stock plays. Simple, Joe.
What do you like? Google's coming up. Everyone's talking bearish, but I think it's going to be bullish. I think Meta is the biggest mystery. Anyone have any thoughts on Meta, Facebook? I feel like the option chain's a mess.
Do you have any thoughts?
Sorry, I was just looking at the ones coming in right now. Yeah, I got Pepsi calls. I'm excited about those today. Snapchat looks interesting, volatile. Microsoft, I think, is bullish, but that's a tricky one too. I feel like it's got to be bullish long term for how down it is compared to the others, and how much assets they have on hand.
Hi, boys. So Microsoft bearish. Companies are sizing down. Even my company, like we're cutting down on the licenses and shit. Microsoft is tightly connected to the actual. Wait, give me a second. Fucking work, people. Microsoft is directly tied to the economy of the world, and the economy of the world is going to shit. Google, yeah, bearish, bullish. Visa, very bullish. The consumer spending is up. Inflation, so there's gonna be more spending. McDonald's, bullish. What do you have? Meta, bullish. Snap, bearish. Fucking trash company. What do you have more?
Amazon.
Amazon. Ooh, that's gonna be a rough one. I think AWS is gonna slow down, and that's gonna hit the bottom line of the company. Everybody, that was the only positive news on Amazon in the last couple of earnings. And
Are you serious? You have all these new generative AI startups spending lots of VC money on AWS.
Let's see what happens, Hardy. Good to have you. Long time no hear.
My expectations are Google's going to slightly miss. Same thing with Meta. Same thing with Microsoft. But I don't think it's going to move the stock a lot. But that's just my speculation.
It depends entirely on analyst estimates. Broadly speaking, revenue should be flat to down relative to last year. So if any analysts are expecting growth in revenue or EPS, that's an earnings report that you can more successfully bet against.
So Google, another thing about Google, since we're talking about AI, Hardy mentioned it. So the CEO, he said that they have even more powerful AI in the back, and they're just waiting to release it. I'm curious what's going to happen with it. I think that's going to determine the price of Google in the near future a lot more than anything else, actually.
Is this the AI that guy was fired over for assuming it was a sentient toddler?
No idea, but they claim that they have another AI that is not released and that is so powerful that it's going to change everything. I'm not talking about Bard, I'm talking about a different one.
I get it. Bard was the LLM, and then there's a new deep learning or whatever AI that's supposed to be better for language but harder to train.
Yeah, that's what Sundar said.
Judging by the papers released from the top AI folks at Google, I have my reservations or doubts.
Sorry, I
Same.
also forgot to mention. I
Go
think
ahead, go
McDonald's is very overvalued. That's all.
Yeah, but McDonald's, do you know any McDonald's that's not full, nonstop? Every fucking country I go to, it's full. It's lines and lines and lines of people.
I'm here in New York, and McDonald's only is busy during lunch and occasionally dinner. Otherwise, it's quite quiet in there.
Nice.
I agree. Yeah, McDonald's are pretty empty here as well. I'm in Georgia.
Maybe shit
Georgia,
is changing.
the Georgia in America, not the Georgia in.
Yeah, you would have a Russian accent.
Not the Central Asian Georgia.
Nazdrovia.
You would talk like this if you're from Georgia. Another trash company. I mean, it's not trash, but it's I don't know. Whoever is invested in Spotify, I don't know why. Like the company is just bad.
Quick news. What about Netflix? I read the news that they invested in Korean entertainment industry.
Yeah, they're supposedly going to invest another 2.5 billion in Korean-sourced entertainment. But you still have the problem: a relatively limited cash flow revenue line that's demanding a lot of new content. So Netflix was able to get away with it in the past by financing it with cheap debt. But now that rates are higher, they have to be more, what's the term, judicious in their spending.
We're really having a hard time hearing you. Like your audio just keeps going up and down.
All right, then we'll follow up tomorrow when I'm back at my usual microphone.
I think for Spotify, they might be some investors might be thinking this is where the Tucker Carlsons and the Don Lemons are going to end up as part of, the slow exodus away from the mainstream media. I don't know if that's a thesis that I'm 100% behind, but I think that could be a part.
Can Don Lemon?
I didn't read up on it. I saw that him and Tucker were both out.
Yeah, he is. He's out. Let's see what it does to the market, to their the shares. You know what's funny? This is the first time in I think a year, or even 2 years, that the fucking Snap is having their earnings after Google or Meta, because usually they have it before, and they always determine the price action before the earnings of Google and Meta, because we see how the ad space is with them. So this is the first time that Snap is actually not going to affect the Google and Meta before the earnings. It's going to be a fun change to see how the market reacts. So since nobody has anything to say, do we have some BBBY holders in the chat?
Simple. Anyone? Any plays on Altria? Anyone coming up?
I didn't hear you. Can you say it again?
Let me try. Any plays? Two earnings things that I've been curious about trying to find something. Altria on Thursday AM, and then also any ideas on what day are we today? We're Tuesday, right? General Dynamics tomorrow. It's been an odd kind of 2 days for them.
Ultra is the tobacco company, right?
Yes.
Oof, no idea what tobacco.
MO. they have an interesting history on earnings. Just if anybody ever has any ideas on them. What about what was the other one? General Dynamics, the defense. Anybody?
All of defense is up. Look at RTX today. Lockheed a week and a half ago. They're all up.
It should go very far up, in fact, but it was gapped down for like a day or two. It was kind of surprisingly.
RTX just beat earnings by like I think like 7%.
I mean, doesn't General Dynamics make a $90 million reefer drone? Aren't those the guys that make the reefers?
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Yep.
Fucking Spotify is up 8% pre-market. A good earnings report. Nice. Huh. So they have a user jump is up, but the ad revenue is down. But the company is still fucking losing money, like unbelievable. So they added 13 million users, active users. That's a good bump. That really is a good bump.
Since we got some dead time, I'll make Hardy roll his eyes because I've asked him this several times. What are you guys thinking about UPS?
I think we all know the answer to that.
They're going to deliver you the pain.
I'm honestly curious how much weight the contract negotiation has. We've never had as militant a Teamsters leader, but at the same time, with the economy what it is, he knows he can't strike for too long because it'll cause customer flight, which will impact the jobs of his union members. So I don't know. A lot of people, but there's a lot of saber rattling every contract negotiation too. So maybe it is a thing. I don't know. One thing that I can say from the cost side, and I got to keep it broad, is the company's been adjusting and cutting faster and more aggressively than I've ever seen. I've got a pretty considerable amount of time in the door. So whether that impacts the stock, who knows? Because we've had excellent quarters in the past and the stock tanks. But just that little nugget for you.
Work in the industry. Do you work in the industry?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Enphase has earnings. I think is it today? After hours, I want to say. Yeah, it's available today after hours. So Enphase, ENPH, they tend to beat. It's currently down about 1%. I won't be playing the options just because of the premium and potential IV crush. So I'm going to play SEDG calls into end of the week. So hopefully Enphase beats again, but I'm anticipating Solar to do well again.
Hey folks, I got something to say about Altria. It's not a play thing, but more of kind of how the dynamics are changing in the cigarette industry. If you guys are interested, I'll be happy to talk about it.
Your leisure.
What was that?
At your leisure.
Oh, cool. So, a gentleman brought up Altria, and they're gonna have their earnings coming up. So, for the short term, I don't see a lot of, I guess, not good news for Altria. But here's the thing. So I've worked in this cigarette and the vape sector, and the dynamics are changing a lot. I don't know whether you guys are familiar or not, but there are new products coming up in the cigarette industry or in the cigarette market where it's not your regular combustible cigarette. It's a heat not burn product. So the idea is that uh, the heat not burn product, just in a short, uh, in a very brief thing, it does not give you as many carcinogenic compounds as a traditional cigarette gives. So Altria is working on two dimensions right now. One, they're trying to make that heat not burn product to compete with the market, with the vape market, who are trying to get away the cigarette smokers. And the another dimension that they're working on is creating their own vape product.
Don't
So
they have a product like that in Japan already?
in Japan, with collaboration with Japan Tobacco International, yes, it's called Plume, I believe. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get that product into the US, but it's not going to be Plume, which they're selling in Japan. They're trying to create their own product. I don't know whether anybody has recently said through one of their investors meeting that happened like a month ago. They revealed their heat not burn product that's going to compete with. Well, there are no products right now in the U.S., so they're not competing with anybody. But there is an identical device made by Philip Morris International, which sells a lot in Europe. Um, so so yeah, coming back to the vape part, in that dimension, what they have done is they have recently acquired Enjoy, which is the only vape company in the US who got the PMTA from FDA, the PMTA approval. So um, I don't know how the earnings gonna turn up in short, the next earning, but probably out in like a year or so, I would see a lot of uh, money being generated by Altria. So that's my 2 cents.
I can speak on Mo a little bit if you guys like. I'm super bullish. I'm literally working on a play right now that I'm going to be entering this week.
I think you actually are probably well versed to kind of have discourse about this, honestly, because you're absolutely right.
So Mo, the reason I'm looking at Mo has nothing to do with tobacco or tobacco vapes or anything like that. The reason I'm looking at Mo is because we are approaching the election season, and the U.S. is at the tipping point of more than half the states are going to be legalized, and so you're going to start the conversation of federal legalization, which is the only thing that a company like Mo is waiting for to jump into the cannabis industry. Um, you can tell that they're positioning themselves for that just by looking at their patents and the investments they've made into other cannabis companies, and that every single investment they've made, which were not small, um, gives them also the right to outright buy the company at any time at fair value. And these are growers, producers, packers.
As well
They
as
also have patents for machines to make pre-rolls. They have patents for vapes that can use plant-based material. But if you pay close attention to it, none of the language in any of their patents doesn't say pot. So it could be tobacco, it could be pot. But the reason I lean towards the fact that these are all for pot is because they are actually already have machines that make cigarettes, and they failed on Juul. They lost a ton of money on Juul. So I think that they're positioning themselves to jump into the cannabis industry in a big way, but they're waiting for federal legalization because they're just too big to fuck around in that way. That said, a lot of the patents, the one for the joint rolling machine and the vape, were published like 2 weeks ago. So I got a real feeling that like Thursday they're gonna drop some bombs. They also have that 10% stake in Anheuser-Busch, that their ability to sell that stake has passed, and they didn't. They held. And like Bush always does well. I really do think that Mo, like 55 calls for January are safe. For me, I'm going to be jumping in. I just think that like they've built a fucking massive company on selling tobacco, which basically boils down to how many dollars they can pull out of a square foot of farmland. And when you compare tobacco to weed, there is no comparison. So if they're this big, pulling that many dollars out of a square foot of farmland, like, I mean, cannabis is what, 10, 20, 50 times more lucrative than tobacco per square foot. They already vertically integrated. They have all the trucks. They have spaces on shelves. They have lobbyists in government. I don't think, of all the growers, of all the packers, of everybody that everybody targets for the cannabis industry, I don't think anybody's as well positioned as Altria to jump in here.
Okay, if I can hop. So there's one important.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But what was this loss they took on Juul? Did they actually sell their position in Juul? I thought they still held.
I don't know how they do how that all played out, because I wasn't looking at Mo around that time. Like, they weren't on my radar at all. So I'm reading back on what happened with that, and I just I don't have figures or how damaging it was to them. I doubt it was very damaging. They're fucking huge.
Altria took a position back in 2019, worth $12.8 billion. And recently, all their evaluations, I mean, the money that they put in is worth like, they lost $12.5 billion out of the $12.8 billion. So what they recently did, they decided to get out of the agreement. So when they were in the agreement with Juul, it was barring them from investing in any of the vape products. So right now, I mean, I guess a couple of months ago, they got out of the agreement where they can create their own product, their own vape product, and compete directly with the Juul. Another thing that I want to mention, Hendrix, is a lot of these patents would probably look like something that would go in a heat not burn product. That's why I mentioned those heat not burn things. I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't heard about Altria trying to jump into cannabis industry right now, but it's more of a speculation if you ask me.
No, they put 1.9 billion into a publicly traded company called Kronos with the in 2019, at the same time that they did with Juul, and they have the right to outright buy that company at any time for fair value. And that company grows, produces their spinach brand in Canada, and they're wildly successful. So you just have to take a look at what they've been doing as far as their patents to understand what they're positioning themselves for.
We're all excited about drugs. However, with business and cannabis, there's one major factor that you have to consider, and this is the short term for everybody who's not as bullish as you are. Very simply, in cannabis, you cannot expense your business expenses as long as there is not federal. As long as there's not federal legalization, you cannot actually run a business that has line item expenses for that. Now, because of that, this is why you don't hear about a lot of the moves for these companies, but it's also why it's not going to happen right away as well. So yes, you have a very bullish stance, and you're very, very sound in your reasoning, but just please remember the taxational aspect of this and the actual clean business aspect of this, as well as banking administration, very much so requires a little bit of a lead up time. Now there's jumps, yes. As far as speculation in cannabis, somebody mentioned 2019. Look, there has been. I sold my land in Mont-Tremblant, fucking in 2008 to a British-based tobacco company, or to one of their principals, their attorney, and that has become a well, I actually don't want to say what it is, but but they're doing agricultural research on it there through subsidiaries. If you look at the British companies and their legalization in Germany, especially, has allowed them since the early 2000s much more leeway. But again, the problem here is legalization. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to say that because everybody, yes, we all want dope, but the point is that until that happens, and that's the reason why people are asking about small companies versus large companies. You know,
Well, I opened the whole discussion with all of this requires federal legalization, and the only reason that I'm starting to pay attention to it is because the number of states that are legalizing is looking to surpass 50% during this election season. Something like 13 more states are going to be doing something, are going to be decriminalizing at the very least, from what I understand. So we're getting there, and popularity is what drives policy, right?
A wise stripper once told me, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Taxationally, once legalization is on the table federally, you're absolutely right. I just went over federal docket today for the New York court for something else. Anyway, I'll defer. But you're very, very, very true in what you're saying.
One thing that I want to mention is, if you talk about the customer base, cigarette smokers are not. I mean, the average cigarette smokers are not really into smoking weed. Like that's not they're not gonna switch to smoking weed. So even if Altria's investment in any of the weed companies does not come to fruition, it's not gonna affect their revenues. It's more like they're testing waters with the cannabis investment, in my opinion. But smokers needs a tobacco-based product to satisfy their craving. Weed is not gonna do that.
How old do you believe the youngest major tobacco company is? How long have they planned their strategies around, and do they realize what their products are and the shelf time of them? Nobody is cross generational over centuries the way the tobacco companies tend to be. It's one of the major issues. I'm sorry, I've got to go because I've got a lot of things coming up. I don't want to annoy you.
Did you just
somebody-
win big on a slot machine? What the hell
Yeah,
was
we're
that?
playing
What's printing?
No, you're gambling. Come on.
Dude's gambling on cocaine
Oh jeez.
at 9 a.m. Eastern. Everyone.
Crack the pachinko. I'm actually outside.
Market's open.
Hell yeah. Looks like Amazon is laying off the remaining 9,000 employees today and tomorrow prior to their earnings release. Sneaky company.
It's gonna be shit, the earnings.
Yeah, that's why they gotta lay people off the day before. Oh, guys, we've laid off, I guess, what is it, 20, 30,000 or so year to date.
There was also the Whole Food announcements last week. That's a small number, probably 200 people they laid off. For Amazon.
Most of those are corporate level people at Whole Foods, C-suite, or white collar people.
Yeah, it was all like corporate management.
Exactly. Squeeze Boys Moss 8%.
Does anybody have any thoughts on Coinbase suing the SEC for regulation clarification?
That's a hilarious one. That's fucking hilarious.
Very much so. Are any of you all following the current case that will be in decision at least for a little bit? Right now in the Southern New York.
Gambling. Stop gambling.
It's not. It's actually Put Printing. I'm not joking. I don't know how to stop the sound in the streamer mode. Sorry.
Mute the tab.
Yeah, let me just kill my trading. All right, sweet. All right, so actually, what this is there's two major things. It's supposed to be up till about 2026 is the possibility of any writ of certiorari actually being issued for the Supreme Court to take on that a decision with the securities. Right now, your boy Gensler has basically postured that that he feels it is security. Are you all familiar with the litmus test that's used for this? What is it, the Heimer test, Hyman
Yeah,
test. So that
turn on from. But it's curious. Did you see what their argument is? You gave us the permission to enter the stock market. That makes you like the faulty party. Like it's fucking hilarious.
Right. There's definitely, but the argument comes down to one really kind of long standing thing, which is an argument over what securities are defined as and what a financial contract is. And I mean, it's kind of crazy. The man, I can't recall her name right now. Torres, Judge Torres. Nanina Torres, I believe, is the person who's on the. She actually is very well versed economically, and decently with currency matters as well from some of her experiences since about '92. But if you check out the magistrate judge list for the South District, you'll see that there's also 6 cases. Letitia James right now is dealing with in her district for civil for 5 other, I believe, cryptocurrencies. But like I said, this is going to go to the 2nd district first, and then it'll go to Supreme. So you're looking for a while for any resolution on this. And a lot of companies will settle, is what actually it seems is the MO oftentimes, and you actually kind of monetize your whole debate to try and drag your crypto up, and that's what's going on with XRP and the whole Ripple thing right now. Is they've given up on their business. In fact, they didn't want to settle. Their settlement date is in like 2 days. They have to choose by if they were going to, and instead, what they're trying to do is use press releases and some misinformation, some of which was going on the Discord here actually last night, by somebody about things about the ruling for it. But yeah, there's something. Why would you sue the SEC though? It's a horrible idea.
I mean, all I hear is crypto's going to the moon. That's what I heard.
Carl, did you read their argument against the lawsuit? They said there's so many cryptos out there, and we only let like 200 on our platform. That means that we are regulating them. We are not letting like every shit on. Jesus Christ, like they're gonna get butt fucked by the government.
So simple.
Well,
oh man,
the Coinbase suing the SEC, I think, is kind of funny, simply because my fiance works in government, and government does not like to move quickly unless it's in their best interest, or unless some of the cronies can make some kind of money off of it. So I think that by pushing to basically have the government be like, give us an answer, they may not like what the government has to say in response to that.
Dumbest idea ever. Like, honestly, it's great. Fire sale. It's all going up.
Well, I mean, I just think what we'll see is a migration of financial innovation away from the U.S. and into countries that allow this kind of thing, right? There are places like the United Arab Emirates that are very friendly towards crypto. There's places like Costa Rica, if you don't want to live in the Middle East, that are also very friendly to crypto. And that's not even including nature. Well, yeah, but I'd rather live in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a really nice country. I mean, I spent a fair amount of time there. It's a nice place. El Salvador, they've got a little bit of a gang problem there, right? I wouldn't want to live there. It's just me. But, I mean, I'm just saying, there are other options. And, if you look at the dollar dominance already declining, I think that taking a hard stance on cryptocurrency is only going to accelerate its downward movement. Just my opinion.
And adding to Costa Rica, cost of living is a lot cheaper there than the UAE.
And you're next to Panama, which has amazing, advantageous closely held entities and foundations, in case, and especially religious charities, if anybody's interested.
BBBY is ripping. Congrats to all the apes.
Ripping downward, right? I mean, they announced bankruptcy.
No. It's up 9%.
What?
I'm not joking. I'm not joking. They were right, Scald. What the fuck? You can't laugh.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I just looked it up on Google. It shows they're up 7% right now.
They were up 11%.
Have you talked about BBBY yet? I heard that there is this rumor that somebody's gonna sweep in and buy BBBY. I don't know how true is that, but that's the only thing that I'm hearing right now. That's the bullish case.
Yeah, but why would somebody swoop up and take like everything if they can just wait for the bankruptcy?
Hey, if you ask me, I have no fucking idea.
Because
Oh.
it's 2023 now, and bankruptcy means to the moon.
I mean, I'm sure somebody will come and take the leases on the stores if the leases are like a long term, that will be a smart thing to do.
I never really dived into like why buy a baby is a profitable business, but
because they charge everything 10 times.
Because they do what?
Because they charge, I'm joking, but they charge everything like 20-30% more than you can find it on Amazon.
Oh, okay. That's that would make any company profitable.
So my prediction on the BBBY is somebody's gonna come in. They're going to take the leases from the stores. If the lease is like a 10-year lease, 15-year lease, whatever, it's cheaper, to take those leases that were signed like 5-6 years ago. And yeah, they're gonna take the stores, like 200 of them, 100 of them, and the rest is going to go to the shithole. But bullish, really bullish on it.
Well, that's actually a good point. I mean, what's gonna happen to, the companies that own those properties, with them declaring bankruptcy if they run out? Are they just gonna get shafted?
Yeah, the lease stops, but they will be happy with it if it's not a new lease. If it's an old lease,
they'll turn those Bed Bath & Beyond stores into Spirit Halloween stores.
They can charge more now if it was old lease. So they will be happy if BBBY leaves.
There's a pretty large case study on that. Simple, if you wanted to check, Al's Formalwear, the largest like cheap tuxedo rental place, they had a huge amount of property, and what happened with their closure? Someone did a very good white paper on it a couple of years back. Al's Formalwear. I'll try and find it for you.
Yeah, do it. Post it in the comments. I'm curious how those bankruptcy procedures go. Look at companies that size.
Cases with footing all locations and that kind of thing, they're not actually personally guaranteed, obviously, and they're not collateral pledged oftentimes for the leaseholds.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So there's no recourse for the. You're also dealing with a segment of a kind of a real estate trust that is hurting quite a bit with that, as well. So there's a lot of action. But let me see if I can find that for you, because it was more interesting with the standalone stores than with multi-uses.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. But of course they're not assets. Fucking stores are not assets. The only assets there are the actual things to sell. Interesting, yeah.
So one person in the chat said that their Bed Bath & Beyond is already turned into an Old Navy. The one near me got turned into a Lazy Boy. So you go in there, they got a bunch of chairs and furniture for sale, like the reclining chairs and stuff like that. They got.
Everybody wins except the apes. Even the lending company won. You know, so I read it. I didn't even comprehend that it was like that. So BBBY sold 50 million shares per week for the last month and a half too, and fucking people bought it. It's unbelievable. It's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, share price is down 80%. Well, okay, 74.5% over that same time frame. Right? I mean, that's what happened.
Super Kush wrote, BBBI headquarters is very close to me. Should I take a picture? No, dude, you should run. The amount of violence those people are calling for, like, shit is going to go down at headquarters. Somebody's gonna attack them. Somebody's gonna do a terrorist attack there. There's that one lunatic, the YouTuber, that went there already like a couple of times, and he's banned from the premises. He took pictures of Sue, of the CEO, the other day, and posted it online, like he's stalking her.
Oh, dude, that's crazy. I thought you meant people were calling violence against the stores. I thought it was going to be like a George Floyd style riot, except people were going to go in there and take comforters out of the store and stuff and not pay for it. That would have been funny.
They think that the CEO and the board fucked them, and they fucked Ryan Cohen, and they need to, you know, take revenge for them, for Daddy Ryan. I forgot
where's the lie?
Go ahead.
I was saying, where's the lie? I mean, they did fuck Papa Cohen, so. Yeah.
How did they fuck him? He earned 60 million. How did they fuck him?
Without lube.
Without, exactly.
Simple. Check the chat. See if you know that. Down at the bottom, go to like page.
Oh yeah. I'm going to
just search for leasehold.
Yeah, let's feel bad for a guy that has so much money he has no cares at all.
Orso, I think Orso is a BBBY fan. He wants to change the topic, and he told me to shut the fuck up. Orso, come up, defend your play.
Anybody else happen to, just in passing, see the story about the new mortgage fees that are supposed to go into effect next month? Basically saying that if you have a higher credit score, you're going to get charged more in fees than people with a lower credit score for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae backed mortgages.
Quick question: is that does not take place if you're over 20% for the FHA bypass, correct?
Like I said, I was just looking at it in passing. I didn't have too much of a chance to get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, the initial I read was if you're greater than the FHA requirements, that you actually aren't hit by that at all. Which most people that is jumbo loans, however, are being regulated differently coming up soon too. I don't know if y'all are into the jumbos.
Well, in August, I guess they're also supposed to be raising. They were supposed to have another fee go into effect but it got pushed back because the industry was fighting it. I think it was like you're gonna get charged a fee starting in August too if your debt to income is like 40% or more.
So wait, they're putting in one fee to try to even things out, and then the other fee is if you're poor, it's an extra fee. Did I understand that correctly? It's pretty great. So they're hitting both sides.
So you're getting fucked for being financially responsible. That's what I heard.
So he also just said there's another fee that if your debt to income ratio is too high, you also get a fee.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, is that what you just said for the second fee?
Yeah, that was my understanding, was that if your debt to income was 40% or higher, then yeah, I guess you're supposed to be getting hit with another fee. But they're also supposed to be looking at like
City
your
Pros, can I help you?
The loan to value, I think, was like 60%, something like that. I'd have to dig into it a little more.
Gutter covers?
Yeah, sure.
So if you have too good of credit to
and
buy a
what's your,
house, you
what's your
get
name?
charged extra.
S-H-A-U-N.
So basically,
Last
the
name,
only way
sorry?
to avoid a fee is to be average.
Rogers.
That's what you're saying.
Am I the only
Okay.
one who's hearing
What's
customer
the address?
service?
Yeah, I'm getting someone in their Wendy's. That sounds familiar.
It was Human Genome. I muted him real quick. We don't need people's lives getting out in the chat.
You gotta be
He
average.
didn't.
You gotta be. You can skip that fee by being average or being dead, like one of those two things.
Well, my understanding is it's only supposed to be for Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae backed mortgages. So, I mean, but it was what, like 40% a while ago, and now it's up to like they cover like 60%. So I don't think that fee applies, unless it's backed by one of those two programs.
Is it a fixed fee or is it gonna be? Is it gonna vary depending on how much the mortgage is? I mean the amount.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't get into the nitty gritty of it to really take a look at it. I was just kind of, doing the bullet points.
Fortunately, unless you're, struggling to qualify, I mean, most people are going to have a Freddie or Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae mortgage, unless you're putting a little bit down or your credit's not the best, debt to income's not the best, then you might go FHA. But most people are going to be Fannie or Freddie, so that's really it's just a very unfortunate thing.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's a 1% fee for anyone with a credit score above, I want to say 680. There's also a penalty for putting down a large down payment.
It's terrible.
Well, one of the things I did notice was, somebody was saying, is it possible that by doing this, people are going to qualify for mortgages that, they probably shouldn't and won't be able to afford? They said, oh, it's a possibility.
So if I was going to, it's been 5 years since I bought my home. So I qualify for first-time home buyers. That renews every 5 years. If you guys didn't know that. So every 5 years, you can get your first-time home buyer credit again and buy another house, even if you already own a house. It doesn't matter. So I guess I'd have to lower my credit score first, right? So I'd have to lower the credit score a little bit, which I think I can do that. I believe in myself.
Just take cash advances on your credit cards to throw into the market.
Skull, does that first time home buyer 5 years, is that state specific or across?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not really a housing guy.
It's federally backed a little bit. However, there are state-specific programs that allow other help, including extra points and percentage in with your down payment as well by certain states. And there's some interesting whirls and turns to doing that you can play the game. And it happens to be when you move within a state in 3 years in some states, 6 years in some cases. And if you've never had a mortgage before, you actually are still a first-time home buyer by all qualifications. I know because I actually just went through my first ever mortgage process for property and said, fuck this.
Well, here's the bigger question that, in my mind, because I don't pay too much attention to housing, I thought that there was a housing shortage of actual physical tangible structures, not because people couldn't afford to buy things.
No, I don't think there's a shortage on the actual single family units. I think it's more of affordable housing is the real shortage.
I think it has to do with.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it has to do more with the funding mechanisms for Fannie and Freddie, and their their portfolio as far as how they're allocating capital and what kind of return, if any, that they're getting. I don't think it has anything to do with the shortage of housing.
I just passed by the Lazy Boy outlet store. It used to be a Bed Bath & Beyond. Now it's a Lazy Boy. They're selling all. I should go in there and buy a new office chair. Mine's falling apart.
You said Lady Boy?
What? No, Lazy Boy.
Oh, my bad.
Just get a gaming chair.
What? A gaming chair?
Yeah, a gaming chair.
Lazy Boy makes office chairs, man. They're real nice. They're very comfortable.
Scott, you need the scorpion chair, man. Look it up. You need the scorpion chair. Trust me.
Is that the chair that reclines back and has the screens on it? Like you said?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's got the screens and everything.
Typically for ones that are basically it's long term, sitting there. I personally find it more comfortable than an office chair. For some of them, that you can get massagers in them. It's pretty cool.
I just heard short on Steelcase.
So it's called our favorite little stock that could in PureCycle is having a 9% day on news that their facility is opening today. So good for them. I'm sure we'll get news soon that they actually can't, pay for anything there, but hey, at least they have doors.
Right. They're finally opening their facility that they said was open a year ago.
Well, it's now permitted to open, and they plan to have it open later this year.
Well, that's amazing. So they're going to open their facility a couple months after they run out of money. Amazing. This is expert level planning by the executive team at PureCycle.
I just like to point out when it has these little pops, because it's essentially saying, come, get a chance, enter.
If anybody's interested, I just dropped to Simple in the chat the I guess large real estate trusts that have exposure as of a quarter to 2 quarters ago that got downgraded because of BB&Y leaseholds. Just for some plays, some are publicly traded.
We were asked about PureCycle. What do they plan on doing with the pellets? I have no idea. We've got puts. We think that they're bullshit. They raised a whole bunch of money. There's a beautiful Hindenburg report from 2020 or 2021. You can look it up. It's from 2 years ago on PureCycle. And Hindenburg basically lays out the entire argument. The only thing I found that Hindenburg didn't have in their report was the fact that they never got water hooked up to their factory. And I don't know if you guys know anything about recycling, but it's a pretty water intensive process typically, depending on how it's done. So that was sort of an indication to me that that they were lying, right? Well, but also I feel like you would need water in a building anyway if you were going to have people in it. Like, isn't that a requirement? I feel like it is.
Isn't their plan to pull plastics out of water? So even more so, they would need a source of water.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's just ridiculous. It's BS. And this is like the third time they've tried to have a company do this. This is the first time they've IPO'd a company, right? But they had two private companies before this trying to commercialize this technology. And somehow they're able to raise money every time. And it just boggles my mind.
And the second part of this is Luce ran the math, and apparently they run out of money sometime around July or August. They're like out of funds. So at a minimum, they're going to have to do a capital raise on the stock.
Yeah, thanks for linking to the Hindenburg report. And yeah, they did get in on the whole ESG craze where they're like, we're an environmental company, and then people just threw money at them, right? So it was during the whole ESG fad when everybody was like, ESG is the way to invest. I was like, I don't even know what that means. This is just another term you guys have made up.
Didn't they have like 2 years worth of cash off of their IPO? And that's why they've just been like sitting around?
They did. Yeah, their IPO went gangbusters. They raised a shit ton of money, and that's why it was on my short list for so long, but I didn't short it, was because they had piles of cash. So I couldn't buy puts or anything against them because it didn't matter. They had dump trucks full of $100 bills, so it doesn't matter like if I'm bearish on the company. They had the cash. But over the course of the last 2 years, they have burned through all of it. All of it. Every single dollar has been lit on fire. And by this August, they will be burning their last dollars.
How much self-dealing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my question is now that their facility is quote unquote open, shouldn't they be getting some more expenses that will add on to it, cause them to burn their money a little bit quicker?
In my experience with 3 different recycling systems, that they're very big loss leaders typically, especially at the startup time. But like 2-stage and 3-stage systems for urban development are loss leaders overall. But so yeah, they definitely should be hemorrhaging and should be taking in capital somehow, which is not an easy thing right now, as you all know in tech.
They did have some revenue on one of their recent reports, so I don't know where they got that from. But I think it's going down. I'm not too concerned.
They probably got like carbon capture too.
Yeah, some like credits or something, right? Yeah.
That racket. So that. Well, I'll see y'all later.
my ongoing play is ATS. They basically follow Snap-on, and Snap-on is going off like a rocket.
Did you say ATS?
Alpha Tango Sierra.
Oh, ETS. Okay.
Alpha Tango Sierra.
Wait, isn't that the satellite company that someone tried shilling and they did horrible?
No. This is an automation of tooling. This has nothing to do with whatever that basketball field of for cell phones.
Talking about the Arctic guys.
Arctic.
The Arctic Satellite Canopy Network. That's an entire pass through for the government thing. I think it's like 80 something. It's like three guys who were who one of them was an 18Z, and I can't remember what else. I think one of them was a command sergeant major for 102. But they have a big satellite company that's gone public or going public that is nothing but like weird government contracts that does nothing that they claim they do. But it's like AT something. I don't recall which. They were actually on the Taze Up exchange. Is how I found out about them first before they were on the American.
I see the problem. Yes, the one you're thinking of is Alpha Sierra Tango Space Mobile. The one that's. We'll see if it ever works.
Yeah.
AST, not ATS. Oh, good.
It's dyslexic on the ticker. Okay.
Still making plays on GameStop, or is that shit sailed? Ship sailed. Could be the same thing.
Right the first time. to whomever is asking about the PCT thing, Jefferson, I think maybe. Just so you know, it's a PR Newswire's. I can't remember who. I think Cision. They're an aggregator basically of lead content for PR folks, and I wouldn't take sentiment from anything. Almost certainly, it should be attributed to the company. Almost certainly, but I'll have a look at it. I'm pretty familiar with propylene.
So, to the person who said that Skull should check out PCT, they actually had, I think it was either an Investors Day or some other media day. I think he emailed to see if they'd let him come, and he said no.
That was me. Damn, that sucks. Guys, anybody in oil and gas? If so, and if you're free next week, in the chat is the OTC explainer. It's very cheap for students to attend, like $100 a session, by the way.
Just a reminder that if any of you want to talk about something, bring your hand up. Raise your hand. We'll try to bring you up. Yeah, it's definitely a down day. Looking at a lot of Wall Street Bets favorite stocks, just about every one of them down. One of the few exceptions, AMC, surprisingly up almost 4% right now. Merrick, ticker MRK, is up a little less than 0.5%. NVAX, Novax, they are up almost 2%. Nintendo is up roughly 0.5%. New Holdings up 0.3%. And Rick just went down. They were up, now they're down.
What jackass just bought Visa calls 8 cents over ask? Awesome. Sweet. I don't know if anybody does telecom. Can anyone tell me what is going on with AT&T? Like for the last 2-3 days, no lead up at all. Anybody notice that?
Hold on, I found a article. Apparently, they are doing a collaboration with Trinity Cyber. Let me look at what it is. Brief: AT&T and Trinity Cyber collaborate to deliver commercially managed cybersecurity to the Air Force. That's extremely bullish.
Oh, but maybe because of what just happened recently, it didn't take too well. I don't know. With the news cycle, really bad timing, huh? With the Air Force cat that just got popped.
Yeah, that might be why.
Son of a hooker.
Although I was talking with Soen, and we both were kind of. He's pretty sure that the guy's just the fall guy.
Oh, 100% entirely. I would imagine you're absolutely correct. Yeah, there's no way that his access would have been concurrent with all the information he published from what I've seen.
Well, the other thing is he did this as a member because due to the fact that he's a member of the National Guard, he could be subject to the UCMJ, or they're going after him through civilian court.
Oh, really? I just assumed, yeah, it would have been Jack. Wow. God, the Dan Hedges days are gone. The prosecutor who started getting out.
Yeah, they had him arraigned in federal court. I'm like, that's weird.
Very odd. Although reservists, yeah, who? It's interesting. But yeah, I just can't figure out why AT&T's been so lackluster, to say the least. Oh, Latter Day. Is Zion kicking back up yet?
Hold on, let me look up and see what's their ticker.
Zion. Oh, I figured that was your jam.
Oh, nice. Let's see. Right now they are down just under 2%. I really don't mess with the banking sector. I mean, yes, I know it's kind of run by the LDS Church, but other than that, although if I believe in the governance that they provide, I guess I should be a bit more bullish on it.
Well, it's the Central Loan Authority as well for business, for you all, I believe. And what's the hedge fund called that you guys have? Our Exploratory Capital Fund? I can't remember the name of it.
I can't really remember the name of it either.
Crazy.
But
Zion is a strong play.
I know that the church has, like, I guess the third largest private investment portfolio.
And I want to say at one point was top 10 land holdings in the U.S., not internationally. States. And plus you own the FBI anyway, so.
I'm in it, but they certainly like us because apparently having good morals and trying to stay away from loose women is very good for the FBI.
I mean, it was the ideal structure for candidates initially when it was formed. Entirely. What was it? 80-something%, I believe, of the initial founding members of the FBI's first task force were Mormon. Hence the nickname Mormon.
I did not know that, so I guess I learned something today.
Like I said, strong, long, slow bank play, slow boogie, Zion.
right, so you want to know why AT&T has been so lackluster lately, especially in the last couple of sessions? It's because they released a lackluster earnings report. The investors didn't like it, and they just slammed the sell button to drag it down.
Who's
Did they also give some bad forward guidance on it?
I believe so. I mean, AT&T's been troubled for years. They cut the dividend. They had to sell their Warner Media stake. I mean, things have not been going very good for them.
They still have a very large chunk of DirecTV, though, don't they?
Yeah. But I mean, cable TV, satellite TV in general has been dying throughout the last decade. Less and less subscribers as people move to streaming services, and even AT&T couldn't get that right.
Is their hold on the fiber optic network under most major cities not worth shit anymore? Maybe I don't know this part of the industry. To be honest, it would make sense. It isn't.
Look, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are subscribed to their internet services, but their competitors like Xfinity is apparently doing a better job than that. I mean, I have them. They have more coverage area than AT&T. A lot of areas provide better service. I mean AT&T. They really got to pull their shit together, otherwise they give it another 5-10 years, they might not even be relevant anymore. I mean, landline is dying. Cable's dying. I mean, the only thing they really have going for them is their wireless service and maybe the internet, but they're fucked unless they pull it together quick.
Well, what's really interesting is my house when we first moved here, we actually had a landline through AT&T, and we kept having issues where they kept overbilling us, and my mom would call, and they're like, well, we don't even show that we have service in your area. Like, they didn't even know that they had a phone line up to our house.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even at our house. It's so new. They didn't even install landlines.
I have a property that we were renovating a couple weeks ago that has been around for about 112 years, and AT&T has installed 19 lines over each other. Is what they found out. There's so much copper from a certain decade or several decades that there's interference with almost everything that's not shielded well in the entire building.
Yeah. That must suck.
And they want to bill me. They won't pull it out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they won't pull it out with the value of copper.
Copper wire number 2 is not, that great. There's a good premium to melting it, though. I won't get started on metals again. But if you ever need money, guys, melt copper wire and pour perfect square dice. The premium's like 180% if you're actually really good at it for some of on the trading forums.
So, no, I've beaten this play to death, but so Nintendo has earnings, I believe, May 9th, and another bullish thing for them is, I believe, May 12th is when they release the Breath of the Wild 2 game, so there could be some huge upside there. Also, to the guy who was talking about Bed Bath and Beyond being up 7%, earlier in pre-market, apparently it was up 11%. It slid down, and I think it's going to continue to slide down. Pretty sure by the end of the day, Bed Bath and Beyond will be downsies yet again overall.